Last time on Sakamoto Days. After an epic in-train battle, Sakamoto finally beats the quote-unquote immortal Kashima, while some coordinated teamwork from Shin and Mishimo defeats Siba. While evacuating the hostages, Shin has a nerve-wracking encounter with X. What's this mystery assassin who has a history with Sakamoto really up to? Stay tuned to find out. Episode 10 begins with Shin and Lu still feeling tired and exhausted from the lab incident. Sakamoto suggests the only remedy for this that he could think of, a relaxing hot spring bathhouse. Unable to use his mind-reading abilities properly, Shin warns Sakamoto about the place being unsafe. Sakamoto instead gives Shin some valuable advice that separates the mediocre from the elite, that knowing when to rest is equally important as being alert all the time. Bored of his mundane routine, the guy in charge of the bathhouse takes a look at Sakamoto's face and starts wondering how it was oddly familiar. As he's picking up towels for the Sakamotos, he grabs Sakamoto's wanted poster, and after comparing them, he realizes it really was the legendary hitman Sakamoto. Named Yutaro, this 24-year-old was an amateur hitman who was currently running his parents' bathhouse for them. But a massive bounty like Sakamoto could surely change all that forever. Yutaro hands them the towels, and they go into the showers. As Sakamoto lathers himself with soap at lightning speed, Yutaro watches on like a creep, thinking about how he absolutely must avail himself of this opportunity. While Sakamoto and Shin begin their bathhouse experience, Yutaro patiently waits as he has tampered with each of the facilities. First up are the jet baths. As Shin turns the jets on, he suddenly gets blasted several feet up in the air from the immense pressure, enough to seriously injure someone. Shin only hits his head. However, Yutaro's target Sakamoto casually enjoys the rock-cutting pressure as if it were a gentle spray for him. Next up is the sauna. After Sakamoto told Shin the heat was low, he went over to add water to the coals to make more steam. That's when Yutaro presses a button that lets out a ton of steam, rapidly increasing the entire sauna's temperature to such heat that it catches on fire. Shockingly, Sakamoto finds this just the right level for him while Shin braves it out next to him, though simultaneously being caught on fire. Sakamoto then carries Shin out after he faints and spots the cold bath. With heat not working, Yutaro tries freezing Sakamoto to death. As the bath and Shin literally freeze over, Sakamoto finds it a little warm still. Sakamoto then goes back and forth between these several times, and each time Yutaro fails miserably to hurt him in any way. Although poor Shin is out cold by the end of it. The girls then join up with him and Shin. As Sakamoto and Lu casually play world-class level ping-pong, Yutaro frustrates over how tough his opponent actually was, and if he was even defeatable. Not wanting to take over the family bathhouse, Yutaro had decided to go into the assassination business. But that wasn't working out for him either. Suddenly, two ruffians who knew Yutaro in the past show up at the bathhouse and start giving him a tough time. Yutaro tries to stand up for himself, but gets slapped and a foot planted on his chest as the ruffians continue making fun of him and his bathhouse. Hearing all this, Sakamoto decides to interfere a little by hitting a reverse shot that smashes into the bald-headed guy like a cannon. The other guy starts choking Yutaro, blaming him for what just happened. Sakamoto takes the stick from the ice cream he was just eating and throws it at him, sending him flying into the vending machine where he dangles like a coat on a hanger. Seeing how Sakamoto was behind all this, Yutaro decides to come clean about his assassination attempts. But Sakamoto just thanks him for the innovative baths and leaves with his family. This encounter with the legendary assassin leads to Yutaro deciding to hang up his assassin boots forever and just take over the bathhouse. Ironically, the bathhouse made Shin's body even stiffer than before. Meanwhile, some mysterious men land in Japan, talking about getting someone. While enjoying a nice meal at a family restaurant, Lu expresses her delight at being in one. Having grown up in a mafia family, Lu's meals had mostly been prepared at home. Shin asks why she never kept in touch with anyone from her past life. Never really having liked that life, Lu tells him she much rather enjoyed this one and didn't want to go back to that work. Out of nowhere, the guys from earlier show up, with their guns pointing at Sakamoto and Shin. The long-haired one shoots Sakamoto at point blank, but Sakamoto catches the bullet with his fork. Sakamoto then throws him on the table while Shin knocks the other guy out too and orders melon soda like nothing happened. The long-haired guy turns out to be Lu Wudang, an advisor to the Lu family who has had a rather unhealthy obsession with Lu since they were kids. Wudang then proposes a deal where if he wins he takes Lu so she could be the Lu clan's head. But if Sakamoto wins he would divulge information about the person who put the bounty on him. Wudang takes them to an underground casino. He then gives them 30 million in chips and tells them whoever wins more in 2 hours' time shall be the winner. While Shin's mind-reading powers would definitely come in handy here, there was just one tiny little problem. Both Shin and Sakamoto didn't know how to play these casino games. On the other hand, though not very good at fighting, Wu-Tang made up for it with his exceptional wit, as he is able to triple his chips in a few minutes and, with that mission, win more than Wu-Tang. Episode 11 kicks off with Team Sakamoto dividing the 30 million before starting. Lu knew someone as smart as Wu-Tang wouldn't just leave a bet he made on chance, which turns out to be the case as Wu-Tang tells them gambling wasn't based on luck, but on intense planning and was a tense psychological warfare. Shin is the one to start things off as he sits down at a table of poker. His opponents immediately figure out from one look that he was an amateur and start underestimating him. As the game starts, Shin struggles to keep up, not knowing what to do, which is when Lu shows up and starts tussling with him to let her play instead since he looked as if he had no idea how to play. During their struggle, his cards fall on the ground, and his opponents quickly take a peek. Turns out Shin had a straight. The pros try bluffing him out, thinking he'll fall for it. However, thanks to his mind-reading powers, Shin does the exact opposite of that and wins 12 million. Next up is Sakamoto, who takes his chances on the roulette table. Sakamoto goes all in on red, holding just one chip back. The dealer pities Sakamoto as he has tampered with the roulette by using an electromagnet to control where the ball lands. Having his own tricks up his sleeve, Sakamoto flings the last chip at the roulette at just the right moment, disrupting the magnet, and ends up winning 9 million. Wu-Tang gets informed about the Sakamotos seeing great success in this race, but he doesn't let that sway his cool as he dominates in blackjack by memorizing each card that has appeared and estimating the chances of the next 10 card. In a flashback of Wu-Tang's past, when he was just 11, we see him being beaten up by bullies. An 8-year-old Lu then shows up out of nowhere and scares them off after a good beating. Wu-Tang tried to cover up his weakness by telling her that he didn't fight back so he could get them in trouble later, which would affect them more. To his surprise though, the young Lu believes him and tells him his intellect must be his strength, as her father had told her everyone had their own unique strength. Being acknowledged for the first time ever and wanting to live up to her expectations, Wu-Tang had worked really hard from that point on and was now at the pinnacle of the Lu clan. Time to find out who the winner was arrives. Shockingly, both parties end up winning exactly 87,630 chips. With no winner decided yet, Wu-Tang suggests they play a game of poker to settle it. But after none of the Sakamotos knew how to play, they ended up playing Old Maid instead. The rules were simple. The team with the Joker at the end loses. Using his powers, Shin tries singling out who was most anxious, as they would most likely have the Joker. Unfortunately for him, it's Lu, whose poker face was as good as dirt. Wu-Tang begins taking a card from her, but her vivid expressions give everything away. Despite knowing, Wu-Tang deliberately takes the Joker from Lu since he simply couldn't beat her. It's Shin's turn next. He tries using his powers, but as he tries reading the cesspool that is Wu-Tang's thoughts, his brain overloads and he gets knocked out. Sakamoto uses his lightning-fast speed to quickly switch cards after initially picking the Joker. In the end, only Sakamoto and Wu-Tang remain. Noticing Sakamoto's slight glance at the Joker, Wu-Tang picks the right card, and it seems as if the game was lost. However, using his superhuman finger grip, Sakamoto doesn't let Wu-Tang take the card until he swiftly switches it for the Joker. All of a sudden, the Mafia goons start pointing their guns at the Sakamotos and even Wu-Tang. It's an uprising, as they were sick of Wu-Tang's meticulous ways. As Wu-Tang drops his head in defeat, Sakamoto reminds him why he did all this in the first place. Wu-Tang then pulls himself together and announces that he had planted bombs in every subordinate's gun, which would go off if the gun was shot. The Sakamotos don't waste this chance and take the Mafia goons out. The guns actually weren't tampered with at all, and it was all just a bluff from Wu-Tang. Having failed to protect Lu from danger, Wu-Tang yields to Sakamoto, as in his eyes he didn't deserve to protect her anymore. Sakamoto cheers him up by validating his honest intentions about protecting Lu. Wu-Tang then also becomes a part of the crew at the shop. Keeping his end of the bargain, he begins telling Sakamoto about who put the bounty on him. Wu-Tang informs them about the murder of 4 death row inmates in a certain Southeast Asian prison. All 4 had their faces burned off, and the mark X was left at each murder site. All 4 of these inmates had their own unique style of killing, and coincidentally, 4 such victims had been found in Japan after their deaths, which meant their deaths were faked, and they must be hiding in Japan somewhere. Next we see the 4 notorious criminals sitting in a diner. Each had a serious body count, with Dump having 180, Saw having 64, Apart having 206, and finally Big Minimalist having 370 victims. Kashima then shows up there as well and shows the 4 a list of people he needed killed, as they all posed a threat to their organization. After Saw finds it ridiculous that they thought a fatty like Sakamoto would be hard to kill, Kashima advises him not to underestimate anyone on there. Minimalist gets up, crushes his table into a ball, and tells Kashima they'll have everyone on the list terminated in a month, after which they all leave. Meanwhile, the Sakamotos decide to get in contact with these psychopaths, despite Wu-Tang's repeated warnings, since they were their best chance at getting a lead on Slur.